So in the previous session, we understood that how we are going to pass or how we are going to get data from the API. So we already learned how exactly the API works and how we are going to fetch the data by means of a get and post request. Okay. We use two libraries. First one is the fetch and second one is the Axios. We tried the examples by using both of these libraries, and now we will try to understand, okay, what in this example what we have done. Okay, we are using fetch. Okay, in this example there is some request option. We are performing the post operation, and we are not handling the thing. So there may be some situations where the API is taking so much of time to load the data, as well as it requires some error handling scenarios and situation, and that should be displayed and conveyed to the client or the user of your application. So we just saw the simple application in a previous few sessions. Now we will try to complicate and we will try to optimize our code, okay, with the help of error handling, the loading things, okay, and that thing we will understand in today's session. So how properly and we can optimize the code and better we can write the code for the better user experience. Okay, so we already saw post request by using fetch, then post request by using Axios. Now we will try to understand how we can handle the different kinds of errors or different kinds of situations in a API calls. Okay, so there may be lots of situations, okay, may occur when you are calling particular API. There may be the race situation and the data is loading again and again. There maybe you need to clean the cache or you maintain some information in the cache for the storing purpose. Okay. The components are loading again and again. So these things may affect the performance of your application. So to reduce these things, some things we can handle, okay, by means of these techniques, okay, which we are going to learn. And for the same techniques, if you don't want to write it by yourself, you can use different external libraries to do such kinds of functionalities. Okay, so there is a React query, okay, tank query is there. So by using which also we can achieve all this functionality. So let's understand what how we are going to do it with the help of an example. So already I have created this example, and something different, some code we have written differently here. So first of all, we want to handle the errors. We want to store the errors. Okay. So for that, we created one state variable, which is the error and set error. Now we want to check whether it's loading or it's loaded successfully. Then at that situation, we are going to save that particular state. So for that, one more state variable I have created, which is nothing but a is loading and set is loading. Then the actual data to store, and that is nothing but an object of a post. So it's an array of a object of type post. So this is a little bit TypeScript code where we are mentioning the types of our variables. So post, next, which page? Okay, we are the post is available, but we are uh, performing the pagination of it. Okay, so little bit for that to store that thing, which number of pages there. So say it's a simple thing. We are just increasing the count. Okay, that's it. So for to store that thing, we used one more state variable, and which is nothing but a page. Okay, and set page. And initial value of a set page is a 0. So as soon as we click on the button, so what exactly the example is? Okay, so there is a button. So when we click on a button, it will tell us, okay, page number 0, and it will load all the posts of page number 0. So when we click it again, then it will convert the page number 1 and it will load all the post from the page number 1. Then we say 2, we are going to click it, then the state variable will get changed to the 2, then again it will happens. Okay, Now, one more important thing we are observing in this code, which is new to us, and that is nothing but this abort controller. Okay, what exactly is and how we are going to deal with it. So let's understand that thing first. Okay, so basically, abort controller is kind of a controller which stores the status. Okay, so it's used in a fetch API to allow fetch requests to be aborted programmatically. So there are aborted, it means it's get destroyed, closed, okay, or stopped. So basically, we are going to decide, okay, situations where we need to abort it. So here are some key things you should know about the abort controller, that it allows to create a abort signal. So basically, abort controller deals with the signals. Okay, as soon as you receive the particular signal or situation where you think that, okay, fine, I want to abort this particular API call, then you can change that particular signal, and that can be used to abort one or more fetch requests. So you can create your own abort or not own the instance of abort controller, and you can get access to the abort signal via the controller signal property. So here what we have done basically, let me slide it. Hmm. So here what we have done, we created one abort controller, and here in this screenshot, we are just accepting the signal, okay, what will be the, whether we need to abort it or not, okay. So uh, just a minute, let me clear this annotation. So next, what we can do, okay, let's check the what we can say, the documentation of a abort controller. So it basically abort controller is nothing but the and its signal property. Okay, so let's understand the abort controller first. So it's a uh, interface represents a controller object that allows you to abort one or more web requests and uh, as and when it is desired. So as per the requirement, as per the flow, it decides when to abort the particular API call or not. So you can create a new abort controller object using the constructor, and communicate with the asynchronous operation is done using the abort signal object. So abort signal objects will gives you the information whether the particular call has been fulfilled or you are getting some issues or not. Okay, now basically this important one more important feature is nothing but a abort controller signal property. So signal property is nothing but a read-only property of abort controller interface, and that returns an object's instance which can be used to communicate with or abort and asynchronous operations as desired. So abort controllers provides you the signal property, and which will decide whether you need to abort the particular call or not. So that thing we are doing here. Let's check one example. So same example is there, but here we can just scroll up and down so I can explain you properly inside the VS Code rather than the that screenshot. So here is the abort controller, and what we are doing, we are just using the signal property of an abort controller, whether we need to abort this particular API call or not. Okay, so I hope this much is clear. Next, what we need to do, next what we have done, so inside the use effect, we are just we return one arrow signal, a sync arrow function, and in which we just decided and created the abort controller functionality. Initial level, it will get aborted. Okay, so consider before passing the signal, before calling something, the whatever the things are there, it should be abort. Then we are creating the new one. We are setting the ease loading property true. Now let's understand this ease loading and error. Okay, let's understand the ease loading first. Okay, so ease loading, we set it, we created one instant state variable and then we set it to the false. Initial value of a is loading state variable is false. When it will be true? It will be true before fetching. Okay. So when we want to show the particular site is loading particular feature, when it should be before you are fetching the API, okay, before you are fetching whole data, which is taking time. So that's why we changed the is loading value to the true. Now, when the is loading value is true, what we are doing? We are just showing that particular message, okay, that is loading. Here it is. If is loading, then what we would like to show, we would like to show that, okay, fine, this data is loading. Next one is the is error. So we are setting the error. So whenever our error is there, so this particular message will come. Okay, this particular div will display you something went wrong, please try again. So this is the use. Okay, next one, we are fetching the request. Okay, this is our base URL, we put it here. Now this is the more standard and proper way, okay, rather than putting the URL, because now onwards your URL will be, this whole data is hosted here, but there are some what we can say, there are some tags, there are some words, okay, which are different. So like from that URL, do you want the post or user values? It's kind of a, consider you are creating one database and that database contains some tables, right? There are some records and schemas, okay, under that particular schema. So you are accessing the database, but you are just telling, okay, I want the data from this particular schema. I want the data from this particular table. So that thing you can vary. So that's why whatever the common thing is there, we stored it in a one variable, because repetition is not a good thing. So rather than repeating the same URL for n number of API requests, we just keep it here and make it as a one variable, and that one variable we can merge with the things. So here we are fetching await fetch, we are fetching the response. Okay, and from that response we are converting the data, okay, as a post, and we are storing it as a post, and that post variable we are setting back to our set variable, state variable, which is nothing but a post. So we got the data from API and which is available inside our state variable, the name is post. Now this is perfectly okay, it's get executed fine. Now consider there are some issues. Okay, there are some errors, any type of errors maybe, and if it's get occurred, then, and if it is a abort error, then we are going to mention the log aborted. Okay, and finally we are setting the, whatever the error is, we are setting the error. And there are some blocks, okay, try, catch, and finally, which is a always executed block. So after loading the data, we are setting again back uh, is loading to the false. Okay, so before fetching is loading is a true, data fetch, error occurred, then error catched. If no error, then data displayed or stored inside our post state variable. After fetching the data, we are setting back is loading to the false for the next iteration purpose. So finally, we are cleaning up the data, and then whenever the new page is there, then what we will do, new page, new data, new page, new data, like this. So that's why in our use effect scope, we are giving one dependency in which is nothing but a page. So as soon as the value of the page will get changed, okay, the whole code will get executed. Fine. So it will check the controller, abort controller, then it set the loading thing, then it will fetch the data, it will store it in the state variable, then if some errors occur, it get handled inside the catch. Okay, if it is an aborted one, then obviously it will return the log. If it is not, then it will set the error with the whatever the error is. If error is there, this block of code get executed. If no, then we are just setting the is loading inside the finally block to the false. Okay. And whenever the page value gets changed, we are calling this whole code. Okay. Now here is our code markup. Okay. So there is a one button. On button click, we are just setting the page plus one. So whenever the button get clicked, page value get increased. Okay. It will show the loading, and then after the page value get changed, obviously this whole code get executed asyncly. And when we get a whole data, we are just applying the map on it, and we are fetching the post one by one. So this is the overall well managed, okay, optimized. So here also we are unable to cache the thing. Okay, consider you are refreshing the page, then whatever the cached data by this URL or fetch API, it should get printed. Okay, it should not call the API again and again. Okay, and for example, if it's getting the error, it should hit the API 3 or 4 times, and still it's not getting the data, then it display the error. There are some certain situations which which we can't handle over here. That thing we will handle with our external library, which is the React query. But in this example, I hope that example is clear to you, and let's check it. Okay, let's run it. Here it is. Okay, so first of all, data get fetched. Okay, and all the post will get printed. Okay, in a list manner. Okay, by list manner, because we are iterating the map, and whatever the data is, we are putting it inside the list. Next, what we need to do? Next, we know that whenever we click on the button, it's showing loading and it increasing the thing. And whenever we click on the button, the value of the page get increased, and that's why the whole code inside the use effect, it means a side effect code will get executed. Now let's check it. As soon as I click on the button, you can see the loading, and after that it get executed. Now let's change something here. So we'll get that. So instead of a post, let's save it as a post and loading. So we are not getting any data, right? Now you can see one more thing. Wait a minute. Let me put it back. I want to show you the network traffic. So let's refresh it. Okay. I went to the network tab, and let me just increase the size of it. Okay. And if you can observe, okay, the request we are setting is nothing but a post request, and we are getting the data 200 fetch, and here it is. Okay, so here you can see the whole explanation about it, that okay, so queuing, then stalled, then waiting for the server, content download, and what kind of a total duration is it's required. Okay, now let's clear it, and let's refresh it. Okay, so when you refresh the thing again, same. Okay, so you'll see this. Now you are able to see the queuing. Okay, stalled, queuing, and request sent, what is some time required, and then waiting for the server. So there are some few variations. Okay, these things we have to reduce, and that thing we can achieve. Okay, so to do these things, we require this much of code, and which is so lengthy. We can do this much of code in a 2 or 3 line of code by using the React query. So let's understand how React query works.